Hello, my friends, and welcome to episode 215 of the Kiss Army Nation podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Pasquale Veri.
And I am Claudio Spera. Welcome to the show, everyone.
Kiss Army Nation, making his way to the microphone from Coram, New York, standing at 5 feet 11 inches, weighing at a rock-solid 268 pounds of pure power and pain, bringing the sound to the streets and the thunder to the arena. He's a DJ of destruction. He is the problem solver. He is the master A solution. He is absolute Alvin Alvarez. Welcome to the show, my good friend.
Woo! Pasquale, that was one hell of an introduction. I don't know if I deserve that introduction, but wow, amazing.
I've been practicing all day, man. I've been practicing all day.
I love it. I love it. How are you guys doing?
Really good, man. It's so nice to have you, Alvin. So, we've been waiting for a long, long time to have you on the show, and finally we could make it. So this is awesome, man. We're going to have a beautiful hour here.
Yes, absolutely. Been looking forward to this. Absolutely.
So, Alvin, we recently had Jean Besson from Glow on the show, and we discussed, the relationship between Kiss and wrestling. So why do you think that relationship is so strong?
So Kiss and wrestling, Kiss has always been involved in wrestling since I've been a fan. So I was able to see the Kiss Demon in WCW, and then it's awesome getting a chance to actually meet him and become friends with him. So right away, since I started being a wrestling fan, Kiss has always been there. So I've always been, who is this guy? And then I learned, it's a guy, look, Gene Simmons. Okay, who's Gene Simmons? And that got me into Kiss, back in 1996, 97. So that's when I first knew about them back then. But that alone was my relationship between wrestling and Kiss.
Okay. So according to what you just said, apparently wrestling came first into your life, kind of a passion, and then Kiss came a little bit later, right?
Absolutely, yes. And that was my introduction to Kiss, was the Kiss Demon and learning about the actual band. But then later on, a good friend of mine, Ron Buckley, he really introduced me to Kiss, and then my world totally turned a different direction.
Well, Ron is a friend of the family here with us. Big shout out for Ron. He's an awesome guy. Beautiful.
Absolutely, man. Brother from another mother, man. Family of mine as well.
That's funny because I was always into horror movies, and that's how I got into Kiss. Right? I heard about the Demon and the Star Child. I thought they were talking about a horror movie in the hallway in the alleyway outside. It's like they're talking about this band Kiss. So I got into the band because of horror movies, and you got into the band because of wrestling.
Yeah, crazy.
I think that's awesome. So tell us more about your introduction to the band, and what was that moment like discovering Kiss?
It was I can remember like it was yesterday. So it was the summer of 2010. So me and Ron were always good friends. So that summer we really became close, and we were always we love the summer. Him and I both love the summer. We love being in pools. We love just going to the beach. So him and I would always be at the beach, at a pool, pick a water park, wherever. And he'd always kind of leave early or be like, all right, going to see Kiss. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. It's his thing. But then he'd come back, and the next week he'd tell me about the concert. I'm like, all right, fireworks this, fucking Paul Stanley this. And I'm like, all right, okay. I'm like, now me, I'm one of those guys, like, if you offer me something, I'm one of those guys like, hey, don't knock it till you try it. Let's try it. I'll give anything a shot. That's just my personality. So I'm like, I want to attend one of these Kiss concerts. I want to see what this is all about.
I got to see this.
Yeah, I got to see this now. And then now I'm intrigued. So it was when they played Nassau Coliseum. So maybe late July, early August of 2010. He came back with. I remember vividly. We're in one of my pool at my complex I used to live in, and he's telling me about the concert. I'm like, all right, I want to do the next one. He said the next one is at Mohegan Sun, August 16th, 16th or 19th. I get those two dates confused because one is my wrestling anniversary date and one's my Kiss concert. So I get the 16th and 19th confused. I think it was the 19th. I'm sorry, August 19th. Mohegan Sun, Kiss played, and I went. So him and I go. I want to say I was wearing this exact shirt. I'm almost positive. It's a coincidence. Really? I'm wearing the Corona shirt. But I'm going to go back in my photos, Pasquale, and I'm going to find it. It's on my Facebook. I'm wearing – so we go, right? And Ron's like, all right. So I don't know if it was my idea or his idea, but I wanted to do one of the characters. I wanted the face paint. Something about the face paint just attracted me. So he's like, all right, the easiest one to do is Ace. So I didn't know what I was doing. So I'm like, here you go, brother. So he did the makeup for me, and it came out, oh, man, it came out really good. I'm going to find this photo. I'm going to post it on my Facebook. I'm going to tag you guys in it so you can see it. It came out really good. And that's how I went into my first Kiss concert with the Ace makeup on. And, man, it was one hell of a show, as you guys know. And right away, instant fan. Started playing, listen to the music. Then I got into the songs, and yeah, then the albums. So I collect albums. So now I'm starting to collect all the Kiss albums. I believe I haven't got Revenge yet.
Okay.
So I'm up to Revenge. I have a couple of the newer albums, but chronologically, I got up to Revenge. As you guys know, Revenge is hard to get a copy on actual LP. But and of course now, so me and Ron now we're in record stores looking for records. I think he actually found a copy of A Kiss Alive 2, like the misprint. I think he has a copy of that, which I don't know if you guys have a copy of it, but not a lot of people have a copy of. So yeah, and it really brought our relationship closer, and it brought me closer to Kiss. And from there was the Kiss Coffee House. We went down to the Kiss Coffee House right before it closed. I think it was the 5-year anniversary. And that's where I met people like Carmelo Stearns, Doug, Andy Moyen. Oh. And then now talking to all of them, it's like I'm locked in because you could tell how much they love Kiss. And I'm one of those people like, man, if you're so passionate, I want to know about this because you're so passionate about this. I have to know more. So like, all right, man, listen, this Kiss cruise is coming up.
Oh my God.
So I'm like, okay. So I actually. So let me rewind the clock a little bit before the Kiss Coffee House. So Ron offered me to come down to the coffee house. So I actually missed my 10-year high school reunion for this. I didn't care. I wanted to see this Kiss Coffee House more than I wanted to see my classmates. I didn't care because I was invested. You know, seeing these guys live, like I really understand the passion you guys have because, man, I had it. So then we go down to the Kiss Coffee House. We fly down, and then so I learned about the Kiss cruise. And I'd never been on a cruise, so I'm like I said before, man, I'm down for trying some new things. So, and then that's what we met, and you know, Pasquale, you met people from all across the world, and me, I just want to talk to people. I'm a very people person. So once I got on the Kiss cruise, and me and Ron, and we met all these people, and like, all right, right away, you know, right away, and just hearing like your passion, Pasquale, just talking to you on the cruise, and hearing your story from Canada, and of course right away, I thought about Bret Hart. So, just, you know, it was just awesome. Just being introduced to that population, and yeah, that was my introduction to Kiss.
You see, that's funny because we just had an episode called "A Kiss Starter Kit," right? How to get a person into Kiss, and we mentioned the idea that you have to bring him into the Kiss world. Even just seeing the makeup or just the music, you have to bring him into the world. You went from here to up there in fandom in such a short period of time. You saw him in Mohegan Sun, and it's a small venue, a beautiful venue. You were right there. No matter where you're sitting, you have a good view of the band, and you just feel the energy, like you're right in front. Mm-hmm. So what an introduction! You went to the Kiss Coffee House. Not many people saw the Kiss Coffee House. Oh, that's a privilege. That was amazing. Yeah, you know, and then the Kiss cruise. You can't top a Kiss cruise. You know,
and
once you've done that,
once
you've done that, you cannot go back. You're a Kiss fan for life.
Absolutely.
Now, you also mentioned that you're starting to collect records. Are you going down the rabbit hole of collecting bootlegs?
No, I tried to get the originals. So me and Ron, I try to find as original possible, like with the label and the stickers. Because remember, each album had something with it. Yeah. So I'm trying to find the albums that had the original in it, and I'm close. I get close. You know, some of them have even the catalog in it, so I have some of them with the catalog. So I'm trying to get as original can be. I mean, I think my original album is so like it's warped. Like I think it's definitely from one of the original albums from if not 73, you know, the late 70s because it's all beat up. So that's vintage is my thing. So that's I'm trying to just catch the original stuff. Yeah. So far so good.
So it's obvious that you're a very passionate person. So tell us about your passion for wrestling. What was the moment that made you say, "This is what I want to do"?
So I became a fan in the late 1997, big fan of WCW, and then I started to do it in the backyard, and I just enjoyed like being, I guess maybe almost like an out of body experience, like when you could be someone that you're not. I guess if you ever take acting classes, probably something similar. Just being somebody else and enjoying that, and so that started there. Then I went off to college, so I kind of forgot really about wrestling. I actually really stopped watching wrestling. Kind of more got into bowling, became a bowler, and really forgot about wrestling for a couple of years. This is maybe like 2005 to maybe 2010, those 5, 6 years. I really forgot about wrestling. I kind of concentrated on my degree and going to college and getting a good job. I started working actually with adults with disabilities at this time, which I still do to this day. So I kind of got my career off there. And then wrestling kind of came back. I while bowling, one of my good friends, Tony Nese, who's now signed to AEW, who was signed to WWE, he's one of my good friends, wrestled him in the backyard, and he started training at the New York Wrestling Connection, the training school that I trained at. And he started training. He's like, "Listen, I'm a trainer. You've always wanted to do this, Alvin. Just come on and flip the switch and come do it." So similar to Kiss, once I put the wrestling shoes on and knee pads and I slid in that day, I went from zero to watching wrestling back to trying to do it to yeah. So it was kind of like that. Like once I get like a taste of it, I'm like addicted. So I was started training there, and from there it kicked off. Started doing shows live, and then you can ask any pro wrestler. Once you open that curtain and you just hear the audience, that's like the best drug you can get in the world, man. You know what I'm saying? For anyone that's done heavy drugs, that's my drug. Just hearing that audience, and it's like once you're done, it's like, okay, when's my next one? How can I get the next one? So it's like that for me, and now that I'm back from injury, it's even more like that for me because now I put wrestling into a better perspective. And it's the first time I'm actually going to say this live, but my knee injury was probably one of the best things to happen to me, and we can dive into that if you'd like to, but yeah, like it changed my perspective on life. It changed my perspective on my relationships. It changed my perspective on wrestling, and it was all for the better. So yeah, so here we are.
This was a recent thing, your knee?
Yeah, so I tore my patellar tendon. So that's the tendon that attaches your kneecap to the tibia, the lower bone in your leg. So I was wrestling. Actually, I was in the Gold Rush Rumble last year, 2024, and I went to throw a guy up, and I caught him, but I caught him on one leg, and I immediately tore the tendon. So I had to go right in for surgery. This was August of last year. I had to go in for surgery. So I recently made my return to wrestling July 12th of this year. So I was out 11 months. So those 11 months, I reflected on a lot of things.
Yeah. I can imagine. Wow.
It really puts life in perspective when you go from professional wrestling to now having, your fiance having to lift your leg to get out of bed, to having to wrap your leg before you can get in the shower, to pretty much being a disabled adult, for a good 3 months. I was in a knee brace, locked out for 16 weeks. So I couldn't bend my left leg for 16 weeks, and just imagine, couldn't drive, I couldn't do anything, so being that humble, it really puts life in perspective. It really puts your friendships at test.
Mm-hmm.
I found out during that time who's really my friends and who's not, which was big for me, which is almost spiritual, I guess, kind of for me. And it put wrestling in a new perspective. Do I really want this? If I come back and do all this work to come back, am I going to fizzle? Am I going to walk through the curtain? I'm not going to feel the spark. Are fans not going to respond to me? Did my work previous to injury mean anything? All those are question marks. You can ask any athlete that's went out of injury. They have all those question marks, and until you actually get your foot wet again, those question marks go away. So good for me. Thankful for me. In July, I got back in, and it was like that new shot. Boom, that new shot of adrenaline. And I was back, and I was hungrier, and it just put wrestling in a new perspective for me.
Wow,
I could talk all day, as you can see.
No, but it's so interesting. What you just said, because we're talking Kiss and we're talking passion and wrestling and all of that.
Mm.
And the way, the way you put it in words, it's so profound, so deep what you went through. And, I guess that maybe some of our listeners, they're going to think that we're nuts, which in fact we are.
We are.
Because,
we are.
Being part of the KISS Army, it's something really, really deep too. We have this sense of belonging, this tribe, that we form, that makes us feel special. So in this case, Alvin, so what does the KISS Army personally mean to you? And you said that, that injury gave you the chance to look everything into perspective, to put everything into perspective. So did also the KISS fandom or the KISS Army fall under that same category? So did you question what you were doing with KISS and the KISS Army? What do they mean to you?
So learning from the history of the KISS Army and this group of kids just calling a radio station to get their favorite band played meant a lot to me. I mean, that's almost like independent wrestling trying to get into the big leagues. It puts it in the same perspective. So it's just this group of kids who just I just want my band played. I just want, and that turning into just a worldwide thing really caught my attention. I was blessed to be introduced, into the Army by not only Ron, but people like yourself and Pasquale and guys like Andy Moyen, and even visiting Andy Moyen's house. I'm not sure if you were ever there, Pasquale.
Oh, yeah.
Please go. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
good. Just going downstairs and seeing all that he has is just amazing. And just, I'm not a big collector. I collect records, but I'm not a huge collector. But I respect collectors, and just seeing the passion he has and what the KISS Army really means to even the band, even what it means to KISS. Yeah. Just hearing the members talk about the Army and the respect that they have for the fans and the Army. It's just awesome. So it's just a worldwide phenomenon, but it tells a bigger story. It tells that if the right people, if you go after what you really want, it's attainable. I recently, I'm a part of the group, the Patellar Tendon group on Facebook, which is like a support group for guys for all people that went through this injury. And I just posted today that people that are very new to the injury, you always want to see the prognosis, right? You always want to see, okay, did people come back from injury? Is this attainable? Did they come back? Did they return to sport? So I let them know right away, it's possible. I've returned to sport, but you have to put the work in. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So just knowing that something's possible, so the KISS Army might light a spark saying, wait, these kids did it. So it's possible. And I think the generation going into the 80s and 90s, you're seeing it now. It's possible. You're seeing a whole line of technology-driven things, and just every day is better and better because of the generation of Gen X and kids of the 80s, 90s, and changing the world.
Yeah, well said. That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. That's it. It's the way you put it in words, man. It's great to listen to you, man. This is great. This is fantastic.
Thank you.
So wrestling and personas, and characters go hand in hand. Same thing with KISS. So having these four strong, icons and characters, did you get attracted by any of the members especially? So did you connect with any of them particularly, that you felt, like, oh, that's my guy, this is the one? And if that's the case, why was that?
I got a chance to have lunch with Eric Singer, which was awesome. So we were actually in California. Me and Ron went out to LA to see the first LA KISS. I think it was Arena Football. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was Arena Football. Their first game. I was lucky enough to be at the first game. So another cool KISS moment. So when we were out in LA, I got a chance to have lunch with Eric Singer and get to know him a little personally. Plus, I also saw him at the Indianapolis KISS Expo. I want to say it was 2016. Yeah, and I got a chance to hang out with him and get to know him personally. But the moment really got to me was tie between Gene and Paul, but really Paul, because Paul's just the front man. He's, Gene's more charismatic, but Paul's the front man, and Paul has his own charisma too. So watching Paul Stanley, I actually had another wrestling persona, and I named it Black Diamond.
Ah, nice.
And I put the white makeup on. Instead of doing the star, I did like a diamond.
Yeah.
It actually came out to Black Diamond. I had one of the Guitar Hero guitars I came out with. So the kids loved it. You know what I'm saying? I put my hair like Gene. So I had like Gene's hair. My hair was long still at the time. Had my hair like Gene, went out. So I did about a handful of matches as Black Diamond. That was a cool little persona. So Kiss meant a lot. You know, he even brought it a little bit to the ring with me. You know,
Nice.
yeah.
So as Pascal said at the beginning, so you went into the Kiss, the world like big time, doing the cruise and Kiss Coffee House and everything. So you must have many memorable Kiss experiences. So which one would you say is the most memorable?
Oh, you can put me in a spot. You got to put me on the spot. My most memorable. Well, if not, a lot of the firsts are memorable. You know, a lot of the firsts, like the first cruise, first concert.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh man, I'm gonna say. Because I've been to so many concerts too, and the thing is, me and Ron saw them in like Bushkill, PA, like these towns that are just like all in solitude, like the arena was in the woods. Like I saw. Okay, I'll put it when I saw them with Def Leppard. I'm a huge big Def Leppard fan because of the tour. I didn't really listen to Def Leppard before the tour. When I saw them with Kiss, okay, yeah, that summer they went on tour with Def Leppard by far because me and Ron. Like we were groupies, man. We followed them. I think we hit and Pasquale, you know as well. We hit like maybe 7 concerts in a row.
Yeah.
Like we just went bing, 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 bing. Like we just followed them like around the Northeast, and we of course would get there early, so we'd hear Def Leppard, and we're just I hear the songs. I'm like, and they were great too live.
Yeah, they're awesome.
So yeah, man.
They're awesome
just
live, man.
And hearing the story of the guys, and man, what? Yeah, so that made me dig a little deeper into Def Leppard, started watching their history, and then yeah, I was a big Def Leppard fan. So then seeing them live, so that whole summer I would say is memorable for me, and just being around other Kiss fans, and all the cruises are, and all the cruises are so memorable. It sucks that some of them man, I've been on so many, like they blend together, as you would know. So it's like I'm trying to pick out cruise. I would hear this cruise. I used to have them kind of tight where I knew which cruise it was. Now they kind of all blend together. Now that we're about 10 years away, but man, just some memorable moments on the cruise, and just meeting so many great people, and to having pizza with Paul Stanley. So many. I don't think I can name one.
It's hard. It's a hard question.
Yeah, I know. And just elevator rides with Gene, and it's like, oh, here's Gene walks in the elevator. Like, okay, cool. You've been on the cruise. You know anything can happen, and anything did happen, and I was lucky to be on the cruises before all these nightmare cruises you're hearing about now. Oh, Jesus Christ! So cool. We went on those cruises before all that, and just being with Kiss and being around the Kiss family. Those are really memorable moments, and I'm glad I lived in the moment and enjoy that. I could look back on it with a smile.
Super nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
So Alvin, you mentioned that the band influenced your persona in wrestling. Did they somehow I have a 2-part question actually? Did they somehow influence your style and theatrics in any way? And do you feel that Kiss has influenced wrestlers in terms of their theatrics and style, just like Kiss has influenced other musicians?
Absolutely. So for the first part of the question, it definitely influenced me. So when I came out, I tried to be Paul. I tried to be so a little bit flamboyant like Paul is. Even some Gene, like if I was a bad guy, if I was a heel, I maybe make faces like Gene. I try to be a little bit of Gene a little bit. So yes, it definitely influenced me. And if you ever get a chance to talk to Chris Jericho, he is a huge Kiss fan.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, if you're on, I think it was Kiss Cruise 5, I believe, when Fozzy was on. And I got another great moment. I got a chance to hang out with him and hang out with Jericho, have a couple of drinks with Jericho. So even talking to him, I don't know if you've ever seen his debut for WWF, but his hair was just like Gene's.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's such a big Gene fan. So yes, it has influenced wrestling, and wrestlers all like, a lot of wrestlers I talk to have been influenced by Kiss or either Paul or Gene and things like that. So Yeah, Kiss has definitely influenced people across the world for decades now.
And sticking to the wrestling, what do you think was your toughest lesson that you had to learn early on in the ring?
My toughest lesson was to really slow down. A lot of wrestlers we think we think we have to always move. We think the crowd wants to see us always move. So my lesson, which I'm still learning today, 13 years later, is to slow down and let everything breathe. You know, it's like watching a movie. Try watching like Phantom of the Park on like super speed. You'd be lost. You'd be lost.
True. Yeah.
That's how us wrestlers are. When we're very new, what we do is we think we're on hyperspeed. So you're almost watching a match on fast forward.
Yeah.
So I had to learn to slow down and let everything breathe and let the audience digest what they just saw. You know, so a big move, should take 7 to 10 seconds to breathe for the audience to react. Say, "Oh, hey, buddy, did you see that? That move was great. Let me get my camera." You know, the audience has to digest it. If you're on to the next move already, they go, "Oh, get my camera. What was that? Oh,
True.
Okay, the finish." And then once you get to 1, 2, 3, the audience is programmed to clap, and then you get just a respect clap, which you don't want. You want them to be emotionally invested into what they're doing, similar to a Kiss concert. See, if you ever watch, since I'm a wrestler, I study how it flows, how the Kiss shows flow, and it flows very similar to a wrestling show. How each song is developed and how each thing flows, and it almost brings you to a climax. And here comes Paul Stanley. You know, so that's
a great point. Actually, and sorry for the interruption, but
absolutely.
I if not, I'm going to lose my thought. So then I'm thinking, so those 7-8 seconds where you breathe and when you kind of let it breathe, let it kind of give a moment there. So that also allows you to connect with your fans, right? Because you look outside, and so they're like, "Wow, man!" So the wow effect, then that happens every once in a while, and you can connect with them. That's awesome.
Exactly, and especially if you're a bad guy and you do it, you could say, that's right. I'm not as good as you thought I would," and really get into their head. And now they're watching the show like, "Oh, screw you, buddy." And then you get that back and forth react. And that's what you want. You want that back and forth. Like most of people don't want that, Most people in everyday life, they don't want a confrontation. Wrestling, it's like everything you don't want in real life, wrestling is like times 20. Like you want that back and forth. You want to get it, you want to step over the guardrail, come step over the guardrail. And they may. And then security gets involved. And now once you see that just draws attention, right? You see it in real life. A car accident, it's like everybody's. So now it's a human car accident, so it draws even more attention. And that's exactly what you want in wrestling. You want all the attention, So in me, I love attention, so it's right up my
alley. Now, I love what you said earlier. Like before you get in the ring, when that curtain opens, just the roar of the crowd and really pumps you up. It's like a drug. Yeah. How do you prepare for something like that?
Drink a lot of water. Breathe. So number one, you have to breathe. A lot of new wrestlers, they forget to breathe. So, and things can always go wrong. So you're always breathing. So breathing, now that I've been injured, stretching is big. Also, since I'm over 40, stretching. Yeah. So nice good stretch routine. Try to get myself into a nice little sweat. Get some squats in, get some push-ups in, get my heart rate a little up. That, and, I'm prepared. I know what to do in the ring. I've been in almost every scenario possible in the wrestling ring. So I kind of know what to do if things could go wrong or things go off script or whatever. I could always recover. So that I'm comfortable with. It's weird. It's like I'm very anxious. I have performance anxiety, of course, like any athlete, I believe. But once the curtain opens, it that goes away. Like I feel like I'm in my living room. I feel like I am now talking to you guys. So once I'm in front of the people, I'm fine. It's really just right up until then. But right up until then, just remember myself to breathe. I know what I'm doing. Just remind myself, hey, you've been here before. You had over 500 matches. Here we go. Just breathe. You'll be okay. Just always that that calming techniques. Just that self-talk, talk yourself out of it. And once I go out in the curtain, I'm usually okay. But good stretch routine. Try to drink a lot of water throughout the day so I don't get dehydrated, especially it's hot, in the Northeast now. And really, that's it.
Nice. Yeah. Speaking of going out into the ring, let's try to blend, the two passions here. So which Kiss song do you think would be best suited as an entrance theme? So you're about to go into the ring. So which song would you put there?
Me, I'm still going Black Diamond.
Oh yeah.
Just
Oh,
love the entrance, how it builds up, and then how it goes. Yeah, it goes into it's a perfect song to walk out to. I walked out to it when I was Black Diamond, and absolutely, yep.
nice, nice, nice. So Pask said at the beginning also that one more of your abilities and skills and everything that you have as an awesome guy. So you're also a DJ. So
Yes,
do you see parallels between DJing and being in the ring?
I do. It's almost movement of the crowd.
Hmm.
So you have to read the crowd. So similar to like your wrestling, how you would coordinate your wrestling maneuvers in the ring, depending on how the crowd's reacting. You're going to play songs depending on how the crowd's reacting. So instead of moves, just exchange moves for songs.
Right.
And then you get them and you see what they're reacting to. Oh, they're reacting to this. Okay, we'll stay in this genre. Okay, let's try to slip a song I like, and so try to slip in Love Gun. See if they react. Hopefully they do. So stuff like that. Try to slip in different songs and see what the crowd reacts. If they're reacting, it's awesome. And then once you get the feedback, they come up to you. Hey, can I get this? Then you want that. Same thing like wrestling. You want the back and forth. You want that feedback with your audience, so you know what they're looking for, and you play a song they like, and then their friends go after, and then they come up. Okay, so I'll try to get it on. And you play your back and forth. And you don't play it right away. You play games.
Yeah.
There's ways to move your audience, and you learn that in wrestling. It's called wrestling psychology, and you learn how to bring your audience on that nice roller coaster ride. I do the same with DJing. Try to bring the listening crowd, if I'm at a wedding or I'm at a bachelor party or if I'm at just a backyard party, how to bring that audience just to where they want to be. If they want to just relax, if they eat dinner, play something mellow. I'll throw on cool Michael Jackson song,
Right.
or I'll throw on something smooth. Or if they're kind of getting into it, I'll throw on some rock, see if they're feeding that. Or I'll throw on or sometimes I'll go into like an Aerosmith Run DMC blend. See if they like Aerosmith, they like the rock. And try to do like blends like that, stuff like that, and try to see what the audience likes.
Beautiful. And speaking of blending, so growing up, so you went into, your passion for wrestling was growing and growing. Then you got into Kiss. Did you ever imagine the two words, the words of rock and roll and wrestling, could blend in your life like they do now?
No, I would, because of course I became a Kiss fan right before I was a wrestler. So I was actually a Kiss fan before I was a wrestler. But yeah, I wouldn't. No, I definitely wouldn't think that. I'm happy it brought me here. Happy I met the people that I've met along the way. I'm very similar to Chris Jericho. His life is wrestling and rock, and he actually joined it now doing his own cruise. And he brings the guys from AEW on his cruise, so he kind of merges wrestling and rock alone right there with his band Fozzy. But yeah, I love it. I love it, and just happy to have the memories.
I want to go back to that first question. I'm going to go off script here. Alvin, people make fun of me because I like this particular Kiss song. Now imagine this: a big athletic wrestler, muscular, comes out in the ring to Read My Body. Come on. Come on. How cool would that be, right?
I could see that. I could see that. Okay.
Read My
That would
Body.
be pretty cool. That would be because you
Try
got
it out.
all right.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Try, you can try it out. Let us know. Let us know. Let us
I'm
know.
going to try it out. I'm going to try it out and get back to you. I'm going to do it one show.
Nice.
I'll do it at a birthday party. I'll come out.
That's a good one.
Yep, let's do it.
I'd love to see that. I would love to see that.
Let's do it.
Oh my God.
So keeping to the wrestling theme. So what's your take on the current state of wrestling today? Because, wrestling has really evolved since the 70s and 80s, for sure.
Absolutely. Wrestling is getting better and better. It's getting a little faster and faster, but it's getting better and better. I mean, wrestling, I think, is on a rise right now. Wrestling has its waves, so it was very popular in the 80s, of course, with Hulk Hogan recently passing. He brought wrestling to life, really, when cable became a thing in the early 80s. He brought wrestling into people's homes. Then the late 90s, that Stone Cold Steve Austin, me versus your boss, really relates to a lot of people, that reality era, of MTV, real world, and things changing into the reality era. That was popular now. So now wrestling is now at another high with now streaming. Everything's turning into streaming. So wrestling is very, very, it's very accessible. Everything is on an app now. A lot of independent wrestling federations are on an app. You can get it right on your phone, stream right to your phone. So everything's very accessible now for wrestling. People can see wrestling in Japan. People can see wrestling in Mexico. So wrestling's really evolved. It's evolved to something beautiful. Just hope it doesn't get too fast where people get hurt. I've been seeing a lot of knees go out. Been seeing a lot of people coming off, the kind of tall things and people not catching them and stuff like that. So I just don't want to see people get hurt. But hopefully, just wrestling. It's the art. It's the art of the sport that really attracts me. It's all about looking like you're killing your opponent, but not really hurting them at all. That's the art of it. That's what wrestling from the 1940s on was about, especially popular in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, when there was no health insurance for wrestling. There was no guaranteed contracts back then. It's you wrestle per night. And if you got hurt, you were out. There's no health insurance. Your family did not eat. So you have to protect each other when you're out in the ring. So that's my whole philosophy is I want to make sure the audience gets a great show and they really think I'm kicking your butt, but I send you back home the way you came in. You know what I'm saying? Because we all have families. So I have a family. I have a house to pay for. I have a job. So does other fellow wrestlers. They have homes. They have families. So we're all trying to just entertain the audience, go home to our family.
You know what? A big criticism with Kiss, especially during the Dynasty era, that they became cartoon caricatures. They became, a band for families, superheroes, and a lot of wrestling characters, especially in the '80s, in a sense, I think were caricatures, right? So wrestling today, what do you think is more important? Is it the storytelling, the characters, or is it more about move focus, more about the athleticism of it all? And what do you prefer?
So now the characters are more real. So it's more like realism, reality TV. So instead of, Duke the Dumpster Drosy, the garbage man, it's more of, Alvin Alvarez, the person, of who I am. So that's kind of changed slightly. But wrestling is more about the moves now, I would say. A lot of wrestling fans, I think, are attracted to the moves because they are more athletic now. A lot of smaller guys are entering wrestling that weigh a lot less, that can kind of fly and do a whole bunch of, we call it flippity-dippity stuff. But there's an audience for that. There's a niche for that. So there's a separate audience that attracts that. But there's also the audience that likes the old school wrestling. There's a company called GCW, Game Changer Wrestling, that gives you every type of wrestling you could think of. From the hardcore barbed wire light tube matches to their high flying, speed, back and forth matches, to even what's called like a blood sport, which is almost like a real type of mat wrestling, almost like a blend of high school wrestling and pro wrestling. So there's really wrestling niches for everybody. So depending on what you like, that's, I think, going to be your spotlight. So me, I'm, like I said before, I'm more in the athleticism, but making it look a lot worse than it really is type of wrestling and telling more of a story.
Okay.
And what's my issue with this guy? There's my issue with this guy. Now he's taking out my knee. Okay, I can't stand. How am I going to stand? How am I going to win this match if I can't stand? And finding an intricate way to win the match even though I can't stand. Yeah.
Really interesting. Really,
Yeah.
I like that take. And having discussed the current state of wrestling, what about the current state of Kiss? So, what are your thoughts of the state of Kiss after the end of the road?
So I've been hearing a lot of rumblings. I'm not sure. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to attend the end of the road concert. But I don't know. And of course now with Ozzy's death, it's like it's like
So the fact that let me re-ask the question. So the fact that Kiss is one of the main things with Kiss was touring, the live act and everything.
Right.
So the fact that they're not touring anymore, did it affect your fandom? So were you kind of a bit disconnected from Kiss now?
You know what? Possibly. It was a lot of theatrics, so it was a part of my fandom, but I still do support the band. Of course, listen to all their music, but it does change since they're not touring no more. There's a change. I think a lot of Kiss fans have had that, like, All right, because it was a lot of theatrics, and it was a great show, and they put on phenomenal shows. So that does, a lot of us are going to miss that, and I don't think we're wrong for not missing that and feeling bad about that. So yeah, a little bit of me disappeared.
Okay.
Yeah.
And being such a big fan, and so you attended so many Kiss cruises, which I think we all agree, amongst Kiss fans that's the best. So that's the best place to be. To meet with friends. So what are your thoughts about this new landlocked Vegas event that it was just announced?
Nothing lasts forever, right? You have to put a bow on something. I think the Kiss Cruises put a nice bow on. I think the way they went out put a nice bow on it. And let's try something different.
Okay.
So new set of fans, hopefully, can enjoy this and can enjoy, just going to Vegas. So Vegas is a hot spot right now. Vegas is high in wrestling too. A lot of rumblings about WWE moving their headquarters to Vegas. So Vegas is very big right now. So I think they'll be very popular out there. I think it'll do well.
So you mentioned how, Kiss is about the theatrics, and now that's gone. Like a part of us is gone as well, right?
Yeah.
How would you like to see Kiss live on?
I'd love to see Kiss. I mean, I'd love to just even see them play, or even see them do the Vegas thing, or even do like another unplug where they're just kind of sitting and chill. As long as they can play, man. As long as they can play. Even maybe like a Kiss 2.0. Have it, moving on to new members to maybe pick the best tribute band, and then put the label on there, and certified by Kiss, so they can get exposed and their music lives on. Anything can happen. Those guys would love to make money, so I'm sure they'll find great ways to have Kiss live on forever.
We never mentioned it on the show. We never really talked about the name change for the Las Vegas event. I always felt that Kiss is what brought Kiss forward all the time. And now that they're not there anymore, it's up to the fans to make sure that the legacy moves on again. So I really like the idea of the Vegas event, that, Kiss fans take over Las Vegas. I thought that was cool because it sends a message that now it's up to us to maintain the legacy. And that's why I don't want to go into it, but that's why I wasn't crazy about the Kiss Cruise name change, because it takes away from the key point of this event. It's really about the fans. As you know, the Kiss Cruise, after you've gone a few times, it's not about Kiss anymore. It's about seeing your friends from all over the world, right? That's what it's about. And that's how this Vegas event should be promoted. It's about bringing fans together from all over the world again, like we did on the Kiss Cruise before.
Yeah,
I agree. Absolutely. And that's what it should be about. People should be excited to go, and just like they were on the cruise. Me and Ron was so every year, man. It was like, all right after Labor Day, it was like, all right, here we go, And then, at the time, it's funny. At the time, my best friend's birthday was like right after was November 1st. So I'd always miss his birthday because the Kiss Cruise is always under Halloween. So, but I didn't care, man. I was going away on the cruise to see all my friends. So hopefully this Vegas event will be similar, and people will just come out and see each other, and it'll be like a whole big reunion. Who knows? Hopefully, maybe the Kiss Cruise guys will come back out. It'll be one big family reunion.
Yeah. You mentioned Ron a lot. I remember on the Kiss Cruise, I think it was Kiss Cruise 4 or 5. We sang at karaoke. We were the final song, the closing act. Take It Off. That was insane.
Yes.
Just imagine Ron and I singing that.
Yes. I was there. Yep. In the back part. Oh man, the memories I had of that shit, man. Oh, it was, man. I can't. I'm just glad, happy, blessed to be a part of it. To meet fellows like yourself. To meet people from all across the world. People from Australia. People from Japan. People still follow my wrestling stuff to this day. I'm friends with people on Facebook still to this day. From people I met 15 years ago on Kiss Cruise 1 and 2, and even people I met in the hotels. Even the parties before the cruise started getting crazy. But I was looking forward to them just as much as looking forward to the cruises. Yeah. Andy Moyen's Kiss Cruise parties and going down the Bayside and just viewing Miami and going down to South Beach and just running to guys in South Beach, different bars, and all wearing our Kiss shirts. And it's like, oh, you guys are in town again. Here in the locals, guys are in town again. It's like, here we go. Yep. Because I mean, you guys know you spot. Hey guys, high five while you're walking through, through Fifth Street and downtown Miami, it's such a good time, man, and just those moments alone, and it's not even Kiss brought us here, but it's really about those moments with your friends that you can look back on, and it's think for some of them we lost,
Yeah.
throughout the time, like Israel, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
and I
Sure.
spent a great time with him at the first cruise, because there weren't a lot of guys of color on the first cruise, you know what I'm saying, and me being half Italian, half black, seeing guys of color was kind of cool to see, so right away Israel and his friend, I made friends with them, and on the Kiss cruise, that was the first cruise, and that was at the Hard Rock I met them before the cruise. So we had I think the pre-parties at the Hard Rock that year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So we met them there. So it was awesome. So I met them right 2011, right there, and then seeing Israel at the Kiss conventions and in Indianapolis at the Kiss Expos, and seeing them all the time, and just with him and losing Jeanette too, Jeanette Hilburn, and a lot of people.
Mhm.
We lost some people throughout the year, but just looking back at those memories and the photos we had and taken together, and I could look back at it with a smile,
Yeah.
Man, we were privileged to be a part of that. I remember Kiss Cruise 1. There was a Kiss Cruise page on Facebook, and we all became close friends.
Yeah,
I mean, really close friends before we got on the ship. And I remember I rented 2 huge limos that were going to take a tour of Miami, and I invited Kiss fans that I never knew before, never met before. And I spent like $1,200 on these limos, and I booked these people. They were going to pay me when we get there. I didn't know if I was going to see them. I didn't know if they were going to pay me. It was complete trust of people I never met before. And we all became a family.
Yeah.
I mean, only a band like Kiss could do that.
That's crazy. Yeah, it's wild.
It really is.
It's wild. And it even speaks to this day. You and I talking to this day. 15 years later. So I even meet a good friend Doyle and Jenny. They're from Ohio. We haven't went to their wedding. So it's like, we're now, like we're in each other's personal lives, which is awesome. And we met through Kiss.
Mm-hmm.
That's just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So back to wrestling. We're talking about the future of Kiss. What about the future of wrestling? Where do you think wrestling is going to go from here on in?
So I think wrestling has a great future. Even with the new series Unreal on Netflix, which really opens the curtain, shows you really the backstage inner workings of wrestling. I think wrestling's got a bright future. We have fans. Arenas are getting sold out now. It'll go through its downtime, but professional wrestling started in the early 1900s, 1920s, and it's gone on to now through the NWA, to WCW, to the World Wrestling Federation, to now WWE and the NWA. Wrestling has a bright future, and I hope it continues. Hope I can do it as long as I can, and hoping to, even after I can do it, hopefully just enjoy it as a fan again.
Yeah. Alvin, so we were talking before about the lessons that wrestling gave you for your life, and you share with us, and thank you for that. What you just said about your injury and how it changed your perspective on many things.
Yeah.
What about Kiss? So what lessons, if any, has Kiss brought you in your life? So
just to really live life in perspective, being around all Kiss fans and just seeing love for Kiss really put just living in the moment in perspective for me, and just enjoying it, And it's funny because going to, like, I've been to a couple concerts after, Kiss shows, and everybody has their phone. Everybody's, got their phone here, but for Kiss, it wasn't like that. Everyone was living in the moment. A couple people had their phones, of course, to record the moment quickly, but the majority, if you really looked around, it was really just a lot of us just living in the moment. And that's one thing I took outside of Kiss into my real personal life, is just take a minute, live in the moment, put the phone down. You don't have to record everything, live in the moment, enjoy it. And so that's one thing I'll take away.
And, in some of the previous episodes, we were discussing, Kiss as a pop culture phenomena.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So do you believe that Kiss has had any influence in the wrestling world? So we talked about this before, but, you can see even today, after 50 years that the band was born, can you still see some, let's say, some trails of what Kiss means in the wrestling world?
Absolutely. You still see it from some of the guys that wear face paint. You can still see some of the face paint, some of the guys from either Paul Stanley or even Ace, or you see something along the lines paying respect to them. And of course, Kiss was such an influential band to everyone. You know, even from guys' gear, the way they gear. You know, killed a couple stars on it, a couple like Paul Stanley stars on it. So, you know, yeah, it's Kiss still lives on to this day, and I think it'll continue to live on because as long as the legacy of Kiss and the fans like us and the Kiss Army keep Kiss alive, Kiss will just live on through generations, and we can continue to see the callbacks. You know.
You know, we talked about how important it is for the Kiss Army to come together and how great it is that a band like Kiss can bring fans together from all over the world. Now, Alvin, we met like several times on Kiss cruises and stuff, but we never really had an opportunity to talk like this. I never got to know you on this level. And I love how articulate you are, how you speak so eloquently. And a lot of what you say is based in psychological research that you apply, you know, to your life philosophies, to your wrestling, to your fandom. I think it's an amazing discussion that we've had this past hour. And I know how I remember you. How do you hope people will remember Alvin Alvarez?
You know, just that I entertained them. You know, if they could look back and say, you know what, I saw a match one time with this guy Alvin Alvarez. You know, if someone could say that, my job is done. One person can just say, you know what? You know, remember this time I went to this wrestling show? You know, this dude, this wrestler, Alvin, I forgot his last name, but Alvin something. And he did this. Someone could say that, I'm happy. My job.
That's good. That's great.
You know, as a teacher, every day I send messages, give messages to my students to try to inspire them. So if you had one message for young fans out there chasing a dream, whether it's in wrestling and music or whatever, what message would you tell them?
Don't take no for an answer.
There you go.
That's it. That's it.
Very
Once
good.
you take no for an answer, then you stop. Once you stop, then you can't. You know, you miss 100% shots you don't take. You know, you got to take the shot. So you got to just keep trying. If you ever see that little, I don't know if it's a meme, but it's like a little picture of the coal miner and he's digging away and the gold's right there and he quits. You know, it's like, I think of that all the time. And that's so true to a lot of people. It's like, you don't know how close you really are. If you just keep going and keep going, the gold is there. You hit it. You know what I'm saying? Like I said before with my injury, I told people today, you know, just don't give up. Every day is better and better. If you're going to get there. You have to want it though. So you have to really want it. So yeah, just don't give up. So if anything, don't give up. You know, your dream is closer than you think.
Alvin, you know, I'm so grateful, you know, just to have had the chance to spend this hour with you and Pask. You know, this has been truly enriching for me, and I guess for everybody. And that tells you what we were discussing before. So, Kiss has served us as just the way to get to know people like you, and that maybe we could have never met if it wasn't for Kiss. So this is, you know. You left me, you know, without words, you know, just to express how great you are. You know, the passion, you know, it transpires, you know, the camera, and you know how you kind of came back from your injury, and how you became as a new person, and that's truly a strong message for everybody out there, you know, in the difficult times we're living. So thank you very, very, very much for being here with us. Thank you.
Claudio, Pasquale, thank you. My pleasure, absolutely. Thank you for inviting me. Always, listen, reach out. Always welcome to come back to the show. Of course, I wish you guys the best.
I was talking with somebody yesterday about life, about philosophy, and I said how lucky I was that, you know, I'm 57 years old. I never had to work a day in my life. I do something that I love. I love teaching. I love the students. I love what I do. And you know, I've made it in life. And the idea that, you know, what do you consider making it in life? Is it making money, or is it being happy? You know? So listening to you speaking on this episode, my students know that I have a podcast. I often ask myself, is this an episode that I would show my students? It's like, absolutely. Because this episode is more than just Kiss. It's more than just about wrestling. It's about the philosophy of passion and doing what makes you happy. Never saying no. Always going for what you want. Never giving up. And you're exactly that with your injury. And you could have easily given up. You could have been doing something else.
Yeah.
And no, you continue to move forward. That's inspiring to so many people. And thank you so much for sharing your stories, for sharing your passion, for sharing your philosophies. It was a fantastic hour. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let's go. Thank you. Thank you guys for having me once again. Like, you guys want me back, more than welcome to come back.
Count on it. Count on it.
Absolutely.
We'll do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. To the KISS Army, we hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please send them to talktome@kissarmynationpodcast.com. Until the next time, remember, never stop rocking. Take care, everyone.